ramai yang kata orang yang ambil injectables ni sebenarnya malas nak diet sendiri. Suka makan, cannot control nafsu sendiri.
Hai.
Hai, selamat datang sekali lagi ke You Sihat Podcast. Hari tu korang dah tengok kan episod dengan Dr. James yang menceritakan kisah peribadi dia dalam fight against obesity. So hari ni kita bawakan pula doktor pakar yang merawat Dr. James tu, Dr. Harpreet Kaur Harnam Singh, Consultant Internal Medicine Physician di Columbia Asia Hospital Tebrau. Welcome on board to my podcast, Doctor. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Alright. So kita sekarang berada dalam siri Jom Dengar Tips dalam You Sihat Podcast yang dibawakan khas untuk anda semua daripada negeri Johor Darul Takzim. Alright. So on that note, kalau orang yang ada masalah obesity, they come to you, to your clinic and on appointment nak jumpa you, apa ujian darah yang doktor akan buat? What are the
Okay,
tests?
so the first and foremost, we will have a conversation with the patient, right? Nak tahu latar belakang. Sama ada ini adalah obesity primary sebab gaya hidup, pemakanan salah ke sedentary lifestyle, or is it something to do with the hormone? So tanya soalan dululah. So berapa banyak the corak berat badan naik? So is it perlahan or is it suddenly cepat?
Oh, doktor nak tahu dulu.
Itu akan memberitahu kita specifically apa ujian darah yang kita nak ambil, right? And then sama ada tengah ambil apa-apa ubat, steroids, on any steroids or any biologics for some autoimmune disease. What else? Blood pressure. Berat badan, if they say putting on weight, but you check your tinggi berat and the BMI is actually within normal range. So you have to figure that out as well. Then you go routine blood test first.
Okay.
So full blood count, your renal function, your liver function, paras gula dalam badan. So fasting blood sugar, HbA1c, which is purata gula dalam badan untuk 3 bulan.
Alright.
Cholesterol level,
Mhm.
and then possibly a thyroid function. So
Okay.
that is the routine, the basic,
That's the
very
basic lah.
basic. Then bila during the history taking and perbualan dengan patient, kita dapati maybe ada something, maybe there's a cortisol issue, maybe there is a menopausal issue, like a estrogen, we can check your estrogen levels. It all has to do with the conversation lah. So then we can add on other things after that.
Alright. So basic is the kidney, liver, everything, cholesterol, sugar and also thyroid lah. That's basic. Yang lain
That's
doktor
the
akan
basic,
add on. Alright. Once doktor dah tahu, okay, this is the situation. Let's say dia adalah primary obesity. What's the next step, doktor? Do you treat them immediately dengan ubat anti-obesity yang
So
trending
our
sekarang?
management, we like to say it's holistic in nature. So it's bukan saja ambil ubat ni and balik rumah. Cannot be like that. There will be no continuity to it. So there will be, percakapan pasal, your lifestyle. Why are you having a sedentary lifestyle? What sort of a job do you have, and what sort of work do you do? Do you have time to exercise and all that? Then we refer to your dietitian.
Alright.
We refer to the pharmacist. So if you
Walaupun,
need,
sorry doktor, I cut. Walaupun diorang dah diet, refer dietitian balik.
refer dietitian, see what sort of betul atau tidak cara yang makan tu, pemilihan makanan betul atau tidak, because
Right.
not everybody knows about kandungan karbohidrat dalam makanan kita. Makanan yang high GI, low GI, glycemic index, glycemic load.
Right.
So kita akan rujuk kepada pakar makanan for that.
Right.
And then we can refer to our sports physician or our physiotherapist for exercise regimes. Bukan semua orang boleh pergi lari, right? Ada sakit lutut ke and all that. So senaman yang sesuai untuk individual. Everything has to be individualized.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
There's
right.
not one size fits all.
So
Yeah.
dietitian, physiotherapist untuk exercise, pharmaceutical doktor?
Pharmaceutical, if let's say kita decide untuk start ubat, untuk memberi penerangan macam mana nak makan ubat, kesan sampingan, macam mana nak menangani kesan sampingan. Because sometimes, for example, a lot of our newer drugs like the GLP-1s, kesan sampingan, rasa mual, muntah-muntah. So a lot of patients will not be able to sustain. Mereka takkan tahu macam mana nak manage the side effects. So we give penerangan for that as well.
Alright.
Yeah.
Okay. So kalau nak tanya doktor dengan lebih lanjut tentang jenis-jenis ubat anti-obesity.
Oh my. It's a long story, isn't it?
Alright. So, berapa types ubat anti-obesity are there, doktor? Jenis makan ada ke?
Jenis makan, of course, there's like glucophage and Orlistat and all that. None of it I keep here.
Okay.
Actually, the
Okay.
only things that we keep here are Mounjaro and Ozempic, which is Wegovy lah. Wegovy, same thing, semaglutide. But there are guidelines, ada garis panduan siapa yang sesuai untuk ambil itu, and we follow the guidelines very strictly lah for
Okay.
that. So, I mean, bukan like a slim person like BMI 22 that dia nak cuba kurangkan berat badan sikit 1-2 kg. There have been patients who ask,
Really?
yeah, it's not worth it lah. You know, because you won't lose that much. There's no evidence that it works.
And could it rebound?
It will. I think it could. Yeah, of course, definitely. Even if you are following the guidelines and your BMI is high, berhentikan ubat tanpa tukar gaya hidup, you definitely will
It's gonna
rebound. Berat
rebound,
badan
kan?
akan naik. So what for?
Doktor tanya what for, guys. Alright. So I understand you have Mounjaro and Wegovy. Alright, and there's guidelines for that. Alright. So and there's benefits and also side effects, right?
Yeah.
So what are the benefits sebenarnya, doktor?
For both, okay, so Wegovy is a single pathway, GLP-1, and Mounjaro dual pathway. So dikatakan Mounjaro is a bit stronger lah than Wegovy. The main thing is supposed to actually be for type 2 diabetes. So dia akan kurangkan paras gula dalam badan lah melalui penghadaman makanan. So for like our insulin that is released, dia untuk penghadaman makanan dan juga simpanan. Dia akan lebih menghadamkan kurangkan simpanan.
Alright.
It improves the usage of your insulin in your body. So dia akan you will be kenyang, perut akan kenyang untuk jangka masa yang panjang. Dia akan kurangkan rasa lapar.
So dia melambatkan penghadaman.
Lambatkan penghadaman makanan, so akan rasa kenyang untuk jangka masa yang panjang.
Sebenarnya ubat ni memberikan kekenyangan yang lebih lama dan mengurangkan selera makan pesakit.
Yes, so makan sedikit cepat kenyang.
Alright. So on that note, ramai yang kata orang yang ambil injectables ni sebenarnya malas nak diet sendiri. Suka makan, cannot control nafsu sendiri.
So it goes back to the hormone. So you know, when I was talking about the leptin, the hormone kenyang tadi, the GLP-1s actually indirectly bypass that problem, the leptin resistance, to make sure that, you know, dapat signal untuk cepat kenyang. So it's helpful also in terms of the hormones.
Right. So do you agree dengan orang yang kata orang yang ambil ubat ni sebenarnya cari jalan shortcut? They cut corners.
No, I mean, again, it goes into individualized needs lah. So kalau sudah cuba berbulan-bulan untuk exercise, untuk diet, buat semua yang orang kata bagus, betul, and memerlukan pertolongan because berat badan tak turun, why not?
So you don't think it's cut corners and all that. And doctor, bila patient comes to you, let's say contohnya, they're obese, dah buat blood test and what not, and patient sendiri yang tanya, doktor, saya nak injections ni untuk kurus. Do you judge them actually?
No, why would I judge them? But I mean, they have to be within the garis panduan lah. That means they are confirmed in the obesity range and they have maybe some, you know, kesan sampingan like complications as a result, metabolic complications, or, you know, they have something like that. They are trying to make themselves feel better kan. Dia nak tambah kesihatan. So kalau there's no harm in asking for help lah. So nak pertolongan yang extra. But I always tell my patients, ini bukan magic drug.
Alright.
Right? Mesti dengan jaga makan, mesti dengan exercise regime, because kalau nak berhentikan ubat itu berat akan naik. So it has to be both. Kena practicekan, go to the gym, go running and do your weight training and make the right food choices, you know, more protein, less carbs, and you can take.
What about there's a trend now that they don't come to doctor untuk ambil benda tu, they buy online.
Yeah, I'm not keen on that.
Why, doctor?
Because we don't really know what. There's a bit of a trust issue there lah. Not all, I mean, not saying that it's bad, but not all places yang dekat TikTok and all that is right lah, right?
Correct.
We don't know what is the ingredient. And also, you know, you come with semua ubat ada kesan sampingan.
Right.
Ada there's benefits and the
Side effects.
of those medications. They should be with a medical professional to discuss with it, to see whether you want to increase your dose, reduce your dose, you're having any side effects, what do you need to do. It's a conversation that you should have ongoing with your doctor.
Bila dia orang follow up dengan doktor, you are constantly looking at the
Every
dose,
month
revise
I
dose,
see them.
increase.
Yes.
So kalau dia orang buat sendiri, who will decide on the dose?
You tell me. I have no idea. I have no idea. So if they're self-prescribing, then how do they know what to do when it is reaching a plateau or, nak sambung, nak berhenti? It's a conversation that you should have with your healthcare professional.
Right. I too completely disagree dengan self-prescription. It can be very, very detrimental. But anyway, it is prescription only, kan?
Yes.
Because it's an off-label use for now, kan? Is it still an off-label use for obesity management?
What? Ozempic.
Mounjaro.
Mounjaro is
already for
it's
obesity.
licensed for obesity.
Yeah. Wegovy and Ozempic?
Wegovy and Ozempic are the exact same thing. Semaglutide.
Semaglutide.
Right? So Wegovy is licensed for weight loss. It's the same medication, just branded
differently. Ozempic
loss.
is for diabetic.
For diabetes.
Actually, as a medical doctor, for me adalah self prescription ni bila you tahu you tengah ada komplikasi, bila you tahu your side effect is so bad that you should stop it, taper up the dose, taper down the dose. Apa yang buat untuk korang?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. I don't know.
Doctors pun they have to go for the courses. Yeah. They have to know the guidelines and all that. And sometimes bincang juga sesama doktor kan. Patient aku ni nak buat apa dan sebagainya kan. So my strong advice is carilah doktor yang kena dengan jiwa korang. I understand they say that some doctors judge them and and blah 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 and everything. So carilah doktor yang kena dengan jiwa korang supaya you are doing the right thing. That's the thing lah. So touching on that point, doctor, what are the side effects and complications yang for this anti-obesity medications yang baru sekarang ni sebenarnya? Sebelum tu, baru ni dah berapa tahun sebenarnya, doktor?
In our Malaysian market?
In worldwide market?
I think Mounjaro has been since 2020 if I'm not mistaken.
So about 5-6 years?
Yeah, and about 5-6 years. But in Malaysia, Mounjaro masuk last year.
But in the world market is about 5-6 tahun lah. So apa kesan sampingan dia, doktor?
Mostly related to GI lah side effects sebab dia akan rasa perut kenyang, right? Dia akan melambatkan penghadaman makanan, right? So semua dari segi GI. So rasa nak muntah, cerit, sembelit pun ada, epigastric pain, acid reflux. But it's all self-limiting. Bila badan sudah biasa dengan ubatnya, the symptoms akan turun. And also ada kaitan dengan cara makanan lah. So if you take small meals instead of makanan yang besar, the symptoms are less.
Right.
If you take more protein, less carbohydrates, the symptoms are less.
Right.
Jangan paksa makan. I got some patients that kata tak ada selera, I kena paksa. But that's the point of the medication, isn't it? To make you, so if you paksa because your stomach is full kan, you paksa makan, you akan rasa nak muntah lah.
Alright. So, nak tanya pula indikasi siapa yang boleh ambil. So dari segi kalau dia primary obesity saja, BMI berapa yang dinasihatkan?
BMI lebih 30 or BMI lebih 27 dengan penyakit yang lain. So like diabetes, hypertension, cholesterol, obstructive sleep apnea. So they have other comorbidities. They qualify for it.
Alright. Yeah. So BMI 27 ke atas dengan penyakit 30. Lain. BMI 30 ke atas walaupun tak ada penyakit lain dah indicated untuk ambil. Now, what about orang yang ada penyakit seperti contohnya penyakit autoimmune, dia kena ambil steroid? Alright, ataupun some psychiatric diseases, dia orang kata bila they take the medication memang side effects dia berat badan akan naik. Bolehkah mereka mengambil this kind of anti-obesity medications?
It's not contraindicated, tetapi sama ada ubat ini akan menolong. Saya tak pastilah. It will still be a challenge, I think. For example, penyakit autoimmune yang perlu makan ubat steroid. Penyakit autoimmune itself, keradangan yang kronik dalam badan. It's a chronic inflammation, kan? It's a state of chronic inflammation. So, memang akan mempengaruhi metabolisme badan. The medications may not work.
I see.
Yeah, it may still be a challenge. So, I wouldn't actually if I had somebody with
autoimmune.
Yeah, I would not.
What about yang psychiatric diseases?
It will be challenging because I don't want them to off the medication, their own medications as well.
Alright, but I believe it's individualized. You kena tengok patient.
Kena tengok patient lah.
Setengah orang kan, especially women, macam you said tadi, stress, premenopausal, and this obesity ni, is as though affects more women than men. I don't know whether it's true or not. Is that true?
Not necessarily, no, right? I think it's both lelaki dan perempuan dua-dua ada hormones,
Okay.
right? So akan mempengaruhi dua-dua. Maybe cara distribusi fat, the lemak dalam badan dan our cravings a little bit different.
Alright.
But otherwise, both contributing to the percentage lah in
The same.
Malaysia. Yeah.
Alright, what about wanita yang menopause ataupun premenopause and then they suffer increased weight gain yang dia susah nak lose? Indicated tak untuk anti-obesity medication?
Yes,
Boleh
it is, yes, provided they follow within the guidelines lah. Yeah.
Doktor sangat strict dengan guideline korang.
I'm very strict on the guideline. I am very strict.
Memang kena follow guideline
Yes.
Alright, to be safe
They're
lah.
there for a reason.
Understood, true. On that note, actually doktor, we have touched a lot daripada obesity, hormones, kenyang, lapar, autoimmune diseases dan juga stress, indikasi kesan sampingan and whatnot. Alright, so Dr. Harpreet sendiri, do you see obese patient, ada special obesity clinic ke? Is there a session, boleh tak patient cari
We
you?
have a obesity clinic here running where we have, our dietitian seated there, our diabetic counselor if needed, right? If needed over here. And where we can provide all the medications and all that. So yes, we don't have a specific day. You can come any day, make an appointment and come and see us. And we have packages as well so that you can do your blood test and get a consult from us.
Last but not least, 50% of Malaysia now, 54.4% of Malaysians now tengah struggle dengan berat badan, nak kurus sebelum raya, nak pakai kebaya, alright. But diorang juga ada a lot of masalah dengan hormones, contohnya stress, PCOS, some of them ada autoimmune issues dan sebagainya. Can you give a little bit of nasihat, kata-kata inspiration or some tips that they can use in their daily lives or at least something to stimulate them untuk dapatkan professional help?
Masalah untuk turunkan berat badan, jangan anggap sebagai kesalahan diri lah. Right? Don't blame yourself for it. It could be the result of a lot of other issues, your hormones and things like that. Jangan tumpukan perhatian kepada angka dekat timbang tu. Pay more attention to your health. Jaga kesihatan. So, never mind kalau timbang tu tak turun satu angka, dua angka. Just make sure that you practice a healthy diet, get enough fruits, vegetables, your fiber, your proteins and things like that. Practice a good, healthy exercise regime. Jangan overtraining. I don't recommend overtraining either. A good cardiovascular and weight resistant training regime. Make sure you get enough sleep. Tidur sangat-sangat penting juga. So tidur mencukupi 7-8 jam setiap malam. Kurangkan stres dalam kerja seharian. And there's no shame in untuk minta pertolongan lah. So go and see a doctor if you feel your berat badan tak turun-turun sudah cuba banyak kali untuk jaga makan semua but still berat tak turun ataupun tiba-tiba naik secara mendadak, tidak pergi jumpa doktor. Seawal boleh lagi baguslah.
Alright. So even kalau diorang belum ready mentally untuk ambil ubat pun tak apa.
Yeah, just come for a conversation. Kita boleh bincang, tengok where you are. Not everybody is suited for the medication. Not everybody wants to take medications, right? So there are other things. So we look at all patients holistically. Come and see us and let's see what we can do.
Alright, that's so sweet. Kita ucapkan terima kasih banyak-banyak kepada
Terima
Dr.
kasih.
Harpreet Kaur, Consultant Internal Medicine Physician daripada Columbia Asia Hospital Tebrau. Dan kita jumpa lagi dalam episod akan datang. It's bye from me and Dr. Harpreet. Bye.